Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Good, 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 good. A lot of stuff happening in the world, you know?
It's insane. It seems like it's changing every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really, and like, for example, I mean, as far as the coronavirus, with having kids, having my daughter in Italy and having so many friends all over the world and family all over the world, I
Yeah,
kind of got to the point that I just don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. At least everybody that I know
it
is good
is
people.
safe.
They're staying safe. They're doing the right things. Because that's the whole thing. But man, the water polo world, I think there's a lot of changes, and I think could be changes for the best. I definitely see some very good tendencies out there. I've been
Yeah.
part of about four different. Hi, Kari. I've been like about four different panels,
Okay.
from all over Europe and all over the world with some top coaches in the world, and we're just talking. It's not public, but I really see the technology, John. I mean, I really do. I think it.
Wow.
I think bringing the technology. I think it could be the same thing that happened to American football or the NBA with a fast break in the '70s. And it's kind of dying if you remember. I mean, the
Yeah.
NBA.
Well,
And
it's funny. I'm trying to get myself to be able to schedule a meeting with Sarah and Tony because the stuff they're bringing in with the 6-8 with the metrics and stuff, I think is something that's sorely missing from the sport. Like it's something that's measurable, quantifiable, and we don't have that. And
the
it's
thing. The things. That I think it's a must. Hey, John. I think it's a must that I don't see in our sport, and for many of us that have been in the sport for a long time, is like right now, if you don't know if you've been following, I've watched it. The Jordan, like
yeah.
whatever, and we have seen it, the ones from football, we've seen the ones from baseball and stuff. And so I don't know if you saw this little video I put it on my granddaughter that's 3 years old, and she's already the egg beat it with both hands out of the water and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. The bottom line that I see, or the reason I'm bringing this up, is that it should be, in my opinion, out there, it should be a a way that athletes, coaches, parents can measure things. And in our sport, there isn't. In
Right.
swimming, what his time is. I mean, usually we know that, everything else. But if you look at for our sport, okay. So, we've had some great players over the years. We have Jody Campbell's, we've had Terry Schroeder, Tony Azevedo's, I mean, I've got Chris Humbert. And
Mhm.
if you're somebody say like this, unless you can talk to this person, privately, but even if you do, you say, how many games did you play for the national team? They won't tell you. How many goals did you score with the national team? They don't know. How was your development between high school and college? Or where did you feel that thing? There's no documentation of anything. And that's why I think metric is so important. We need to know all over the world. Because, when I worked 6 years in Italy, I mean, I got to the top three. I won all the 15, 17, 19-year-old championships there. We went to the open division. I had a 21 and under team, and we finished top four. If you ask any of my players, and many of them are now on that Italian team, Cupido, Luongo, Cupido for the US, but Luongo, Fondelli, Icardi, all those guys are from my basically 19 and under team from Camoli. If you ask them, they will tell you how many games they have played, where the development happened, how do they learn. They know all of it, but we don't know. We don't know. And why not? Why we don't know that? You know?
But
If
it's
there's
which it's
questions in
what
the chat, I just opened the chat. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing when I still remember the first time I sat down with Tony and how open he was with all the information and what he was sharing, and it was such a contrast from what we have at home.
Yeah.
Because at home, and you said it the other day and on Tuesday, I think, where as coaches, it's so hard to get shared material from coaches, at least in Canada. Nobody wants to share anything because
Yeah.
everybody feels like
Everybody just
it's
feels
their
that.
secret.
Yeah,
It's their
it's
thing and proprietary, and it's ridiculous.
last night we had a really good conversation. I just finished. I want to take a breather from this. Today we're going to do counterattack, but we'll come back next week to the other stuff for the training. Last night I wrote 80 shooting drills. 80
Wow.
shooting drills. I wrote it in 1 hour. 80 shooting drills, different shooting drills. So Tony comes to me and says, Dad, this is amazing. How in the world can you write 80 shooting drills in about 1 hour's time? I said, well, it's in my head. And he says, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to talk to Maggie tomorrow. We're going to get on here on Saturday, and we're going to make 80 videos of 80 shooting drills. And then he said, and then what we'll do, we'll send it to the coaches. Because it's not only a question of having the stuff that I give you writing. No, we got to put in video. We're in a video, so we're technological now, guys. Come on. And I mean, I'm watching and I'm recommending. Yesterday I had a meeting with all of the Americas, about doing things like this, having meetings where we can see the shooting, break down all these things. Because otherwise we don't do anything. I mean, we show up to a pool and what happens is we, particularly countries like United States or places that have a lot of pools, we get bored. To be honest, we get lazy because we all have a pool. You can be a little high school team, but you got a 25-meter pool, man. You got a pool. You got a goals. You got a little league. You got the balls. United States, you know how much one ball costs in Brazil? One ball. If I want to get a Mikasa in Brazil, it's $85 for one ball.
What?
$85 for a ball. So for you to have 10 balls, that's $850. Well, for us to have 10 balls, it's like $200. And if we want a ball, we can go down the street and get one, or the order will be there. For them to have a ball, they got to send it for 3 months at a time, and hopefully they clear customs. So sometimes we don't realize the problems that others have. All right, let's get busy because today's a busy one. I sent just a couple things with you guys. Some of it I'm going to show it here, and then I'm just kind of cleaning it up. I like to send stuff that you can use, but I hope everybody got it. John, I made sure I talked to Sarah and to make sure you got that stuff. Hope you got that. Good job. And I want to make sure, like I said, if you guys have any problem, just let me know. I'll get the stuff to you as fast as I can. And the only thing, like I said, that kid of mine, maybe all the years I put him to work, he's now putting me to work. And so once in a while I have to take a break and develop some kind of a shooting technique or some kind of a leg exercises for. The other day I was devising a leg exercise for Maggie to develop the lower part of the core so we can get more quickness out of the shot. So we did this thing that we reversed it with balls in their feet. We actually hold the ball with their feet and actually basically arch it and then came back with balls in the hand and then really burns. So sometimes I have to take a break to do those things. So give me a break if I don't get it to you right away. All right, let's get started. So the counterattack, a brief history of it, just for fun more than anything else. I mean, it really was not present until 1960s for a couple of reasons. Number one, the goalie couldn't throw the ball past half court. The goalie couldn't leave the 4-meter area. The ball was extremely heavy with a leather ball. Nobody's going to throw that ball 25 meters down the pool. The tactics used were high-tech tactics of 2-2-2 or 3-3, with a lot of times the two main defenders wouldn't even go to the offense. So really until about the 1960s, counterattack was not something that happened. Even in basketball, you didn't have it. Pretty much was set plays. And again, just remember, we're not talking about breakaways. We're talking about counterattack. Counterattack is a tactical maneuver. Breakaway is a mistake, right? Somebody makes a mistake, you break away, going one to nobody, and you score the goal. So it's sometimes I tell people, it says, "Oh, we had a great counterattack coach who scored 3 goals." I says, "No, you have this unbelievable player on your team that anticipates well, and he goes in breakaways." Well, that's not a counterattack. A counterattack is a tactical maneuver that was created when the sport became very, very dominant by the Eastern Bloc, and that was after the World War II, when basically in 52 and 56, basically it was Germany, Yugoslavia, and Germany, Yugoslavia, and Hungary. That's it. I mean, those are the only 3, and they were destroying everybody with a very perimeter game, a lot of passing, a lot of shooting, not as much swimming. Of course, the 56, the blood game, the Hungarians introduced the zone. That gave some people some ideas because now there was some more movement. Okay, so what happens, the Italians in 60s, they say, "Hey, we can't play with these guys. We can't play with these guys. We can't match their size. We can't match their power." So they came up with a counterattack. At that time, a counterattack was basically a kind of coming from a moon position into the counter. And what they figure out is, let's take all these big guys all the way down to the other side. All 6 people. Then that became the counterattack. Obviously, in 64, 68, 72, the Russians because of through being in Europe and the USA, guys like Martin Niskowski, coaches back at that day, they saw that as being a great advantage for the Americans also. I mean, for our first medal in the modern Olympics in '72, it was a perfect example. It was USA, Russia, and Hungary, where USA and Russia were just the counterattack teams, when Hungary was a powerful team. So counterattack became a tremendous weapon. And sometimes I don't think it's used as well as it should. Okay, so let's take a couple look at a couple things. I like to do. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to share this screen here that we did. Let's look at this one right here. Okay. Where is it? That's the one. Let's take a look at this one right here on the side. You know, the idea of a counterattack, and there's many different ideas of the counterattack, but there's some things they're called they're the counterattack. Okay, so I have a lot of screens of counterattack. So what I do is that I see a counterattack in the game and I'll put it on paper. Okay, and then I store it. Okay, so in this case, for example, is when the counterattack, when the center is kind of facing the 1-2 side. So I frame every one of my counterattacks, you know, so that gives me an idea when I'm looking at it. Nobody's going to surprise me with a counterattack because, like I said, the first thing I do, I'll break a video. And if you guys ever want to do that, we can set up together and I'll break a video with you guys to show what a video is really like. A video means if there are 38 possessions on offense and the other team had 37 possessions on defense, well, let's sit down and break every single possession. And once you do that, you do it basically, you now can even do it with photos, but I like to do it on, because I'm a teacher. So today I would like to do it in a format where I can teach, you know? So what you basically have in here, if you look at it, is that there's a regular 6-on-5, regular 6-on-6 counterattack. And of course the X's are the defense. They are going to the offensive side. That's the first thing you need to do. You need to establish with your players don't have to think, okay? You don't have time to think. You have to basically, when the ball turns over, if the shot came from here is one counter. If the shot came from here is one counter. If the shot came from here is one counter. All these things have to happen with a counterattack mode, not breakaway. What is breakaway? 3-on-2, 2-on-1, 1-on-nobody. These are breakaways. These happen because somebody screws up. So let's look at the board right here. So if we are here and this guy shoots the ball and he's not paying attention, he shoots the ball, this guy goes into the counter. Well, that's not a counterattack. I'm sorry, but that's not a counterattack. You know what? Is that a 2-on-1? Or maybe this guy came back and it becomes a 3-on-2, you know, because this guy was stupid, right? So he didn't pay attention that the guy was actually going to counter on him. So there's a 3-on-2. These are breakaway parts of the counter. They're fast breaks. You know, these are things that there's a lot of, you know, everything gets lumped into the counterattack, but these in a sense are fast breaks. So 1-on-nobodies, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s are really pretty much fast breaks when the other team makes a mistake. Do we see a lot of these in the international level? No. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to make those kind of mistakes. Usually in an international level, you know, and I'm talking about the high level, you know, you see, and I'm telling you every time, this guy is even thinking about shooting the ball. Well, this guy already went to defense. This guy went to defense. This guy went to defense. This guy went to defense because they're anticipating. So you all going to get, and I'm gonna jump to it right now. I'm not even going to unshare it. Let's go right here. You all going to receive this presentation here. I'm just cleaning it up for you guys a little bit. And this is, you know, the counterattack here. I think I might be able to make it bigger. Let's see if I can go to, let's go to slideshow. We can do that. Okay, let's say current slide. All right, so let's just say, I'll get rid of me here. So let's say for the counterattack begins, you're going to receive a PowerPoint presentation with all these things so you can actually teach, you know, if you want to use it with your players or if you want to use it with your coaching staffs, it's fine. But the counterattack has to have a beginning. And the beginning of a counterattack you have to recognize what the trigger point is. So is it when the shot comes from 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or the center position? How do we counter in each one of them? Okay. At the same time, the execution angles in position. Where do I go when the counterattack happens? You have to know where you're going to go. You cannot just swim down the pool. And this is something that I see that becomes a big problem, is that everybody just swims on a straight line. They don't take any angles on a counterattack. And again, counterattack is huge. One of the reasons Monty Niskowski in the early days were able to be so successful is that he kind of did, that time people didn't even take it for granted, but he had that square out release where guys would take an angle, square out, get the ball, and advance, either strong side advancement or crossover advancement. Now everybody goes, well, that's obvious, Rico. But in the old days, people just go on a counterattack and people just stop to get the ball. And of course, they got stalked and somebody munched them. Okay? You need to understand the 3 areas of concern. And that is, don't leave early, right? Don't leave early. Make sure you have the position, the release part, and the execution part. These are your 3 areas. So the beginning of a counter, not to leave too early and give up an easy shot. Who is releasing for the ball and where they are releasing for the ball. And execution, is that good enough for me to take a shot without getting counter, or do I just set it up? Okay. The outlet pass is that, if it's late, we say go dry. If it's early, go wet. The intensity, the awareness, the decision-making, all these things are going to play a big part. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay. So when I'm designing a counterattack, and that's the whole thing, it is a design. It's a beautiful thing. And when you design a counterattack, I have to know where do they go, right? So let's take a look in here. Let me see. Let me get rid of this guy here. Where the hell? Okay, let's put that guy in there. Can you guys see it? No.
No.
Hold on. Yeah, the show. Okay, I got rid of it. Okay. Okay. Let's go back here. Let me find you guys. First of all, there it is. All right. Where are you guys? Okay, here it is. Sorry about that. So let's take a look at, for example, in a counterattack here. We're first going to show you like a real game counterattack. So the counterattack always serves as multitude of purposes. The counterattack is like a 5-man counter. One of the first times being used that was in '84. As you know, the rules before that, you couldn't come even until you scored a goal. Well, that means even if you lost the ball and you took a shot and the ball still belonged to the other team, you still couldn't come out, even. That was the original rule. And then it was where you can come out even. So the United States was one of the teams that really used that well. It was a big, strong part of the USA team, and the Spanish took that to the next level. But let's take a look at this one right here. Okay, so let's share the screen. Okay. I want you to take a look at this game right here. Okay. Watch this counterattack by Spain. Okay, so they're going to get the ball, and they're going to counterattack by Spain. I might have to stop a couple times just to look. Okay, so this is the first thing. Look at this. There is 19 seconds, and everybody is already inside the 7. Look at this. Everybody inside the 7. Let's stop again. Look at this. Now there's 16 seconds on the clock. It's at 30 meters at high level. And look at this. Everybody's already in here. Look, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. They're basically inside the 8. There's not guys stopping in the middle of the pool. This is my problem when I have this. You're looking at the clock, and there it is. Everybody's down here. Now I have a full 16 seconds to play. Boom. There you go. Now I have time. You can work it out. They're working, end up taking a great shot from the outside. That kid is 19 years old. He's a very good kid. But that it shows you that, again, the reason all this happened is because you got down there with 19 seconds. That means it took them 11 seconds to go on offense, get the release, get the ball out, and be in situation to score. Let's take a look at this Croatia-Montenegro, where one of the things about new rules that I don't see a lot of teams still using, and that's the change. I don't see people using the change so much. So let's take a look at this one right here, because same thing. This goalie, he was having a great game in this game of Montenegro. He's going on a counterattack. Go, watch there. Look, I don't understand, guys. That's a new rule. I know in the United States we're not using that yet, but you know what? Why not? You have a guy sitting there waiting for it. Now I'm not going to lose any time on my counterattack. Look at this. He's going to come in even before the ball goes forward, okay? So we need to understand to use the rules, and counterattack is one of the key places for that. Again, you're going on a counterattack hard, same situation. Everybody's going hard. Look at that. Look at the first 5 guys. Look at this. Stop again. Okay, the clock, this thing is blocked here, but if you look at it, there was about 18 seconds. Everybody, there it is. There's those 3 lines, 4 lines, those 4 guys in here, and then the 2 guys coming from the top. All right. So again, very important. Look at the clock now. It's a 14. Still plenty of time to use. Putting the pressure on. See, it uses. Here you go. There's still 9 seconds, and it's still, look, you're still in a perfect situation. Look at this. The guy is ready to receive the ball. We tighten up the goalie's here. Everything is going well. Okay? Of course, they make a bad pass, and there goes their counter to counter. Here you go. We do not want to give up on a counterattack. There's a lot of place to swim. It's very physical. Don't fake. Keep swimming. And there it is. The same thing. Watch how everybody, let's stop again. Look at that. Look at this. Look at this. Everybody in the line. 16 seconds. Everybody's swimming. This is something that, one of the things that we see when I'm talking a lot of times to coaches is that we don't really understand what the counterattack's for, So what is the reason for a counterattack? I've asked that question, and, I've done a lot of clinics all around the world, and I ask that question all the time, why do you counter? And usually the first go, well, to score. Actually, no, that's not why you counter. Scoring is kind of the last thing, because the bottom line is against good teams, scoring is going to take you nowhere. Not going to go anywhere. So you're not going to score. The good teams are not going to give you a counterattack. They're not going to give you the breakaway that you can score the counter. So what you want to do is you want to score. That's all you're going to do is score the goal. Let me tell you what happens when you do that, particularly if you let the team have that mentality. There are players, we all know that, that the moment that they no longer have a chance to score the goal and get the glory, they kind of pull themselves out. They don't ever want to release for the ball. They want to be the one down there to score the goal. So sometimes, for example, one of the ways that you can do that with drills, I have every player on the team has to be a releaser at one time. So we might do a whole workout where I'll say, Johnny is the release every time. Peter is the release every time. Mary is the release every time. So forces them to understand that they need to pull themselves in a situation where they have to release. And that is a very important part, okay? They need to understand what area they're at. So if the shot's coming from the 1-2 side, then if you're the 4-5 side, you're probably going to have the release, because the 1-2 side is the one countering the shooter. So let's take a look at the board in here for a while. I think we're going to make a couple. Okay, I think we'll be fine. So let's look at the board right now, because I love the board when I'm coaching counter, So we have reasons to go. Okay, so let's take the ball for a second. Okay. Every player here, and if you watch those first 2 videos that I showed you, and I'm going to show you some more, have a place to go. So traditionally, the places to go are the following. This player will go here and take this guy with him. This player will go here and he'll take this guy with him. Okay? Now, traditionally, this player goes here and takes the guy with him. All right. So these 3 pretty much, the Spanish counter, the American counter, the Russian counter, pretty much they're all the same. Nobody diverses on this. This is how you, not a breakaway counter, but this is how you take it. So now there's this situation right here. Okay, where do these guys go? Okay. Now we're talking about it. If the shot came from this side of the pool, the chances are that the guy defending here, okay, the guy that's on defense here is probably the center. Internationally, that's where we hide the center. We don't want the center guarding the 2, 3, 4 positions because people are going to drive them and they're going to get excluded. They're going to get tired because they constantly have to move. They got in and out to crash into 2 meters. So that's a lot of work for a center. Remember, we want them on offense. We want them to be fresh and ready to explode on offense. So we move them here. That's hiding. Very few times this guy will go in here. Even if he gets taken into 2 meters, we can drop on him. So this is a nice place to rest. And that means that he takes that line here. That's where he is going, right there. Okay? That's traditionally what happens. If you look at most videos at the European Championship or from the World Championship of Korea last year, you're going to find out that that is how, remember, you just saw 2 videos and that's how it was. Just like that. Okay? These 2 guys are going to get the ball. Let's move them up here more in the prominent area. So the ball is with the goalie. He's got the ball. Now, on offense, this guy here, remember, was a center. They're going to delay the center by getting in front of him. Don't hold, just delay him. This guy is going to swim hard to about here and try to square out or pull the ball out to get this ball. And then that's where the open man is going to come from. That is a typical counterattack. What will happen is this guy will try to press this man. Don't foul him. Press this man so he goes wide, help out, and then this guy goes in here. Okay? And you say, well, coach, that doesn't look very balanced. Remember, this guy was the center, right? So he's moving here. This guy then opens it up. This guy's probably dropped, so I'm going to bring the defense here. He comes here. He comes here. That's what you saw on the counterattack. That is a natural rotation of a counterattack. And that is in my head as clear as I hope it will be with you guys. You look at the counterattack in a game, and I can look at the counterattack, and I can anticipate where the pass is coming from. I know where it's going to go from because you know that that's the pattern. You have to have a pattern. No matter what, the Lakers on the fast break era, they had a pattern. Get the ball into the Magic Johnson's hands, and basically you're going to have James Worthy and Michael Cooper or AC Green filling the lanes and Kareem trading. Magic will penetrate, jump switch, all of a sudden Kareem is running out down, throw the ball up there, slam dunk. And if you go back and you look at the Golden State Warriors, you go back and you look at all of them, and you some teams that even did not use fast break as much, like the Boston Celtics of the 80s, but they still came down with the ball basically down here with a Green or an Ainge here, and then they basically have like a 3 type of post-up. They could have like a McHale or a Parrish or, of course, a Bird. You know, they all have patterns. Guys, there is no such thing as like non-pattern, okay? There's patterns in everything we do, and we have to make sure we understand that. Let's go back to the share. Let's see. I think this one is could it be open? Yeah, this one right here. All right, let's take a look at this counterattack here. When I was in China, you know, having the money, it was a little bit easier because, like I said, this whole facility that you see here, this whole facility, okay, big facility. You know, I have one coach working something on the back. There's another swimming lanes of 4 lanes over here. And that pool could only be used by the Chinese team, the women's team. Nobody else could get into that pool, even if I was not in there. So a little spoiled, but that's okay. But watch this. Shot is coming from here. Watch the lane in positions. Go. There he goes. We'll stop it a couple times. Okay. Stop. Okay. So look, everybody's filled in. The shot came from here, so we know that the 2-on-1 is going to be happening here. Okay, everybody's swimming, but everybody's looking. Everybody's seeing what's going on. The player's burned because being in the center, both of these guys are burned. She's attacking. They're staying wide. Okay, there he goes. Stay out of the way. Boom. Stay out of the way. She's going to come in and finish up the shot. This player actually commits a mistake. She should not be swimming here. She actually is going to allow this player to help out a little bit. But still, what you want to do is go ahead and finish up the shot. There it is. take the shot. Okay. So this is something that, again, you have to go back and look at it. Because again, what you had on that situation, everybody knew where to go. Everybody's going, right? Everybody's just basically going, and everybody knows where to go. The player has the ball. She doesn't have to think. She just knows where to go, and the man know where to go. Once you do that on a counterattack, what you're going to eliminate is going to be your turnovers going to be eliminated. You're no longer is going to have people going like, no longer you're going to have that situations like, oh my God, you went the wrong way. No, there is no such thing as a wrong way. Let's take a look at another one in here. Let's take a look at this one right here. Okay. Okay, this one is a shot from the top. Okay, this one is a shot from the top. Let's move this thing a little bit out of the way. Okay, so there's going to be a shot from the top. You're coming in here. So the counterattack is pretty much on the top side. Okay, stop. See, since the shot came from the 2-3-4 position, everybody's kind of guarded. There it is. There it is. But this guy is burned. Okay, so let's see what happens. The players should take the ball all the way down there. Look, this guy's burned, but he's chasing hard. But here it is what I'm talking about.
Hey, Rico, I think you're seeing something different than we are.
Oh, what are you guys seeing?
We see, looks like your desktop. I can't really tell what it is, but.
Like the ceiling of a pool.
Okay, sorry. I'll go back and look at it. Let's do it again. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I got so many screens open in my. Okay. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so look at it. The shot is coming from the top. And if you look at it, that's what I was talking about, that 3-on-2 counter right there. See? But this is the player I'm talking about. This is the player that's really going to make a difference. Because everybody's swimming. There's that 4-on-2 that we talked about. But that player sits there, holds position inside. There it is. By holding position inside, allow this player to shoot the ball. And that is very, very, very important. And this is the thing. So when we did this, just to give you an idea, when we were breaking away, and of course I know in the beginning, when I got to China, there wasn't a lot of understanding of tactics. We would do this for one straight out. 1 out. Just 1 out. Going one way, the other. One way, the other. Shot from 1, shot from 2, shot from 3, shot from 4, shot from 5, shot from the center, center, center. I would do the center 4 times because that's what happens more. You have to do it. One of the first things I did when I got to Brazil, team that are fast, Brazilians, Americans, Argentinians, Colombians, these teams that, they're not going to have, US a little bit different, but still, we don't have the 6'9" guys. We don't have those guys at 2'4". We better use speed, okay? Most of our big guys are going to go play in the NFL. I mean, imagine if we had some of those tight ends and some of those offensive linemen playing center for us, but that's not going to happen. So we have to understand that we need to really train our quicknesses and our counterattacks and our transitions. We really need to do that. So by doing that, we have these players doing all the time. So I remember I got to Brazil, I got to team, I said, my God, these guys had great drivers the whole life. I mean, even the ones that left Brazil, like Peroni, Tony, Figlioli, I mean, all these guys are captains on their Olympic teams. I mean, my God, Brazil had like 3 captains on their Olympic teams, and none of them were in Brazil. Figlioli was a captain of Italy, Tony was a captain of the U.S., and Peroni was a captain of Spain. And all 3 are Brazilian drivers. So don't tell me that they don't have athletes, right? But they don't know how to use a counterattack. These guys have to leave the country to learn how to counterattack, to learn how to really move and drive. So when we got there, the first thing I did is I set up a training. I brought 87 coaches from around the country. We talked for 3 straight days, ran all the things that I'm teaching you right now. And we went through all this, and then I go ahead and I call the top 80 players in the country, not like an ODP. I came in, and we got them housing, we got them the pool, and we sat there for 5 days. And all we did is basically went through a 6-8 training where we went by every position. How do you release? How do you take off? How do you anticipate? And you do it over and over and over and over again. What went on? A year later, we go to Pan Am Juniors in Florida, and we win it. We get the gold medal. We beat U.S. in the final. Our women beat the U.S. for the first time, end up losing to Canada in the final. So all of a sudden, my young kids of 17, 18 years old are learning, because that's what you got to learn. I'm not going to teach a guy when he's 35, But the idea is, what makes the difference that we were counting with them? We have always had the offensive ability, no different than the Argentinians and the Colombians and the Americans and the Italians and the Spaniards. Everybody has that ability, okay? But how do I get to use that ability? This is what I'm not seeing it, because we're wasting our time on counterattacks. We don't know how to use the counterattack, okay? We just use breakaways, but not a counterattack that is so huge. And it took me a long time to understand that. But once I did that, I noticed that I was getting 4, 5, 6 possessions extra the game just because I was countering effectively. All right. Let's see. There was a question here. Oh, thanks, Faku. Thanks, Faku. That was a great, yeah, it was a really good team. You know, so I mean, this is the thing that we're trying to do. So, you know, let's go over one more thing here. I want to show you one more screen. And it's definitely not this one. Let's see. No, I want to show this one. Yeah, this one here. Okay. This one here, you're going to see this, and I want to show you for one reason only, but watch this. You know, so we come in on the counterattack, shot from the center. Okay, first of all, let me get this freaking sound out there. You guys don't want to hear Chinese, because I'll be the only one understanding it. Okay, so the shot came from center, so the center's burned out. So that means when the center shoots the ball and he is burned, then the ball should go to the defender. So the ball is coming to the defender. She's calling for the ball, because that is also very important. When you're not going to your natural release points, that is 90% the right side of the pool, because most teams don't have that many left-handers. So you go to the right side of the pool, and that's your natural release point. You know, we're not talking about breakaways, but your natural release point is on that right side. But when you're not going to your natural release point, be vocal, so your teammates know why the ball is going to the different area. So there she is. She brings it back. She crosses over. Watch the center right here. That's what she's going to work for. There. All of a sudden opens everything. There's that center. Beautiful. Okay. One more time, this finishing part here, because I want you to see it. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I don't see. If you're thinking about just scoring on a counterattack, remember how we said they got to the 4-2. There it is. As a 4-2, this player is just getting there. So when we score this goal, we actually are even. Okay? So, but if you look at this, the part that I like, if you were going, let's go a little bit more. If we are trying to score, two things would have happened. She would have shot the ball, or she would have shot the ball. And that's what happens on 99% of the teams. They would just shoot the ball and go like, Coach, I was open. But because this is probably on the 58th minute of an hour that we have done this, I kept telling him, no, here what we're working for. There. You're working for that part. And that's something that you need to install in your player's head, that the counterattack is to find the weaknesses, tire the other team, and break the other team down. That's what we want to do. We want to break them down. And we're not going to break them down by taking shots with 21 seconds on the clock. And a shot that is at best a 30% chance of scoring. That's not good enough. All right, let's take a look at some of the international games. Okay, let's take a look at some of the international games right here. This game here is a good one. It's Italy-Montenegro, and we're going to show you a full counterattack. And again, one of the things that I like about this, Montenegro is going to put up the shot. Boom, here we go. You know, the center steals the ball. Look at this. Everybody's going to go. They're already looking to where to go, right? Montenegro is now reading. They got a center. Italy's pushing hard. Goalie's looking. Don't be in a hurry to throw the ball. Make sure everybody's open. Now, he throws the ball there. There's the guy released because there's a center is burning down the pool. There it is. Everybody's starting to get wide. Okay, they're going to set it up. There it is. Try to create something here. There. There's a center trying to come into the 2 meters. Okay. There he does. There we go. All right, look at the clock. My goodness. You see that clock? That clock, when the center got in there was 17 seconds. And that's when Montenegro pressing on a counterattack. That's beautiful. So here's the rotation. They see what you got there in the rotation. So this is the beautiful part of it. You coming in here. So what Italy does, it takes Montenegro down. They got their setup here. They now need to balance out, because if you look at it, there's 4 people on this side. They're going to balance it out. We got a nice clear out play. This guy's already coming back to help, and they're going to balance it out. And if you look at it, take a look at it now. Wait until they finish up the play. There it is. Well, now there's a nice rotation. There it is. 3-3. So you got the center, the 20. The Europeans will call this 21, but we'll call it 21. That's not 21 right here. Then the offense is set up, and then they can go ahead and play. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have a goal, you don't have a goal, but look at that. Penalty shot.
The European Championships.
Guys, what's the difference of that one that I just showed you with Italy? Everybody, like I said, most teams would have taken the shot, but they worked for it. They got the ball to center, and they got a penalty shot. What did I just show you with the Chinese girl? Same thing. Same thing. The ball actually gets worked into the last 4 to 5 seconds and get in. Now, think about it this way, guys. Come on, man. That gets me so freaking fired up as a coach. Imagine if you have a team that you know that every time they got a counterattack, they're just not going to put up some crazy shot out there because they thought they could. No. Just imagine to have a situation where I can bring that counterattack down every single time and going to work that ball into the 2-meter line. And if he's not there, it's okay. I cover back on defense and I play good defense. Because, if you look at it, there's not natural growth that much anymore. So as long as I'm playing good defense, I got a good 5-man defense. Hey, that's all I need to do. It be in any game. What kills most of the teams are the turnovers. Taking a shot too early, giving up a breakaway. I mean, hey, you got Olympic coaches in this call right here, and they will tell you that. They will definitely tell you that you don't give up a counterattack goal, number one. You don't throw a ball away, in a passing scheme on top where the guy can gap it and steal the ball. You're going to either win a game or you're going to be right there. Every time. Let's take a look at one more. I want to take a look at this one because, we got to look at the girls because that's the same thing. All right. Let's look at the girls right here. Where'd it go? Stop sharing. Let me go back to that again. Sorry. Today has been a bad one. Okay. Let's take a look at this one right here. Counterattack again. Look at it. Okay. Now on this counterattack, if you look at it, pretty much everybody's guarded, right? There's not a lot of breakaway. So what we're going to do right now is try to get into position right away. There he goes. The ball comes in. We already know that there's nothing going on. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to bring it back. We know at this point that there is no counterattack breakaway. But what do that player sees? See it right here? This player that was marking this girl is coming back to help, but it's late. So this player is going to come in here and try to post up, but this player has jump switch. Go. She sees that. She throws the ball to the wing. This player does not stop. Keep swimming. Work it. Ball comes in. There you go. Boom. Okay, 6-on-5, just like what we talked about earlier. They got the situation there, and here we go. If you look at it, it doesn't matter. I can simulate. If you tell me, you give me any video in the world, and we can simulate whatever you want. So we can simulate that counter in the practice. So just imagine this. Imagine that if you see the final of the let's say, what was the final? Hungary, and I think the final was Hungary and Spain. Let's just say Hungary and Spain for the final of the European Championship. And a lot of people felt that the Olympic Games was going to be about Hungary, Serbia, Spain, and Italy were the 4 teams for sure that played the best in the last couple of years. But if you look at that, I can take that game. I can take all the counterattacks from that game, just like I can take all the 6-on-5s from that game. I can take them all. And then I can go ahead, take them, draw them, explain to them, put it in practice, and have my player play Serbia. Today we're going to counterattack like Serbia. Today we're going to counterattack like Spain. Today we're going to counterattack about Italy. The best way for us to learn is to do the things that other people do, and then we know how to defend it. We know how to do it. We know how they think. And this is the thing that I'm sorry to say, but we don't do a lot of thinking. You know, a lot of our players just a lot of soldiers. We have very good soldiers. U.S. is, to me, I think the American athlete is one that is very dedicated, works very, very hard. But we also have a very system of, like, coach tells so, you do it, and then you do it with the coach tell you so. Where, you know, you see that in the European mentality and other mentalities that the coach tells you, you ask the coach why, the coach explains you why, and then you do it. You know, so to eliminate that step, wouldn't it be better if we learned that when we do a presentation, and that's what I try to do, so when I'm doing a presentation, like, for example, just the other day, I said, we're going to go 8 200s, you know, and I know that if I say to somebody out of the blue that we're going to go 8 200s, they're going to look at me, they're going to cuss me underneath their, you know, all right, and they're going to sit there and they're going to swim without any reason why. But if I say to them, guys, you know, the first 2 days, all we've done is work on skill. You know, I'm feeling that we're starting to drop a little bit of our base. You know what? Let's get a nice 8 200s out there. You know, try to hold around between 80 and 85. You know, you don't have to go all out, but, you know, try to hold about 80, 85. Let's really try to get that under our belt, so then that we can go ahead and work on some other things later on. Maybe we finish up with some 6-on-5 and 5-on-6. How do you think the players are going to feel? Pretty good. They're actually going to swim those 200s better than they have ever done. Because, number one, they know that they got 6-on-5 and 5-on-6 after that. That is always a fun thing to do. So we have to be, you know, we have to be smart. And that's what I say a lot of times as a coach is I really try to take a lot of the pressure on myself. You know, I really, really do, you know. So try to plan in a way that all the players are going to make sure that they understand what you're thinking. Because most of the time is when we all get along. So, but I need to understand how you're thinking. You know, I've had some great partnerships in the world. You know, I was very blessed, like I said, to work under Monty, to work under Rich Corso, to work under Monty Niskowski. I've had some great coaches that I've collaborated with, guys like Fetcho Kemeny, guys like, you know, Markovitz, you know, and I was able to actually pick up a lot of those things. And you know what? It wasn't necessarily how much I learned. It wasn't necessarily how much they learned. It's how much we learn. Because we learn with each other about some of the things we need to do. And I think we do need to have some of those collaborations out there. Let's take a quick look here on a couple of the questions. I think probably the drill that we use the most in a counterattack, you know, with the progression and stuff. I mean, try to use all your players on your progression on a counterattack. You know, I mean, in the old days, we used to do that 1-on-nobody, 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 5-on-4, 6-on-5. And that's good to the beginning with, but I prefer the other way around. I prefer to start with a lot of counterattacks from the center. So maybe start with counterattack with let's say the center turnaround and shooting, the center laying out and shooting, the center taking a sweep shot, the center getting called for an offensive foul. Create every situation possible that can happen in the game. We all talk about touches. And with the centers, that's all we talk about is touches. What are the touches? Did he score? Did he get an exclusion? Did he commit an offensive foul? All those things that they're going to do. All right? So start with those. And then you start going like, say, okay, let's work on the right side of the pool. So if you work on the right side of the pool by American standards, we have the shot coming from 4, shot coming from 5, shot coming from 4, shot coming from 5, shot. And have it over and over again. I find that the repetitious, you know, with good comments go a long way. Repetitious just to do it, no. I mean, to me, that's kind of like hay in the barn. And hay in the barn is great when we're working on the mental game, but it's not great when we're working on tactics, okay? So we have to make sure that we organize the barn, not just throw the hay in there, all right? So it's very important to do that, all right? Let's see. A couple more questions that are coming up. And when you are doing these drills on a counterattack, you know, start talking with them first. So if I'm that goes back to that first paper that I kind of showed you. What kind of communication are they using on a counterattack? Are they using only verbal communication, or they are using also non-verbal communication, like a visual, you know? Because as a counterattack, just imagine in 2000 in Australia, there were 17,000 people watching the final game. You know, you think the players are going to hear what you have to say? Guys, I mean, I know some of you have booming voices, but trust me, they cannot. Okay? And just imagine the pressure. Just alone of the parents yelling, "That's my kid, that's my kid." That alone is going to cover the whole stadium. You know, so you're not going to be able to hear anything. All right? And so again, what is the visual communication? How they release is one. Putting their hands up. When the goalie makes a pass, hold the hand up like this, pointing where you threw the ball. So that way, if I look back, instead of looking for the ball, I see the hand with the goalie pointing where you threw the ball. You know, when I do my releases, my releases are done in a way that they know that if I completely square out, that means that we got somebody coming free out of the back. They know if I'm just bowing out, or doing a little bit of just kind of like opening, is because I want the ball to go forward with. So again, visual communications are important. Again, don't be selfish. I mean, they try to understand that the counterattack is a counterattack, and that is a team counterattack. There's no individual counterattack. Individual is fast break. Okay? And if you got a fast break, go all the way, put the ball away, man, go back and kiss your biceps, have a great time. But a counterattack is a team concept. So that means you have to know who's behind you. You know, they got these things like, oh, great player has eyes on the back of the head. We all have eyes on the back of the head. I mean, come on. If I'm walking in an area that's very dangerous, I guarantee you I've got eyes on the back of my head. Because I'm going to be walking kind of like, kind of feeling the whole area. Well, guess what? When you're in a counterattack, you are in a danger zone. You got people coming up front at you from all over the place. You got to know what's going on. And you can't turn around and say, oh, there's somebody behind me. You can't do that. Those are things you got to feel. Think ahead. When somebody takes a shot, you already know where to go, right? So if the shot comes from one, I'm going to go left. If it comes from one, you're going to go right. So you already know these things. So be ready to anticipate what comes up, when you feel, and this is something that's important. So from the defensive point of view, it's a little bit different because we don't want to do that. But from the offense point of view, if you have a very powerful center, right, you have a very strong center, I kind of want to have more front court offense. So what I want to do, I even have, some of them what I call busters. What I'll ask a guy to actually go at someone, and my goal is going to throw the ball to arrive there pretty much at the same time that the defender does. You know why? I want to foul. I want to stop the clock. If I stop the clock, I just gain 2 seconds. And that means I'm going to give you a little more time for my front court offense to work. I'm going to give you more time to my center. If I have a lot of great post-up players, if I have got a lot of drivers, no, let the clock run, man. We want to run and gun. But let's just say I got a real strong center. I mean, I want to get the ball to this guy. I got to stop that clock. So I'll run busters. Instead of releasing away from him, I got to release right at the guy. It's going to be a timing thing. It's kind of the old days of timing RB. I'm going to go into this guy and throw my hand out like this, and my goalie knows, and I'm going to turn around. That goalie's going to put the ball right here. Boom, I'm coming into it. Foul. I got 21 seconds on the clock. I can even do one of those, like adjust the cap, to get another minute, get another second, Okay. Right? Hey, it's a game. There's gamemanship in this game too, guys. It's not just play, right? So that is a very important situation. That is a very important situation that we don't do as much, as far as this stuff is concerned, So what other questions out there? We're running out of time here. We got about a minute. So let's see. Thing I didn't cover right here. Well, one of the last things I didn't cover is this. If you got to work on a counterattack, you have to be intense. You have to have intensity on a counterattack. And when I send you the PowerPoint presentation, because I wanted to send in PowerPoint, unless you guys don't want it otherwise, I can send you on the format of books also. But the PowerPoint is because I almost want to use you to play it for yourself. put the PowerPoint on and see what I'm talking about. See the transition of it. Okay, and then that way you can share it, or yourself can copy the slides. I don't care. You know me about sharing. I don't care. You know, but you go over there. And I like to do that sometimes. One of the best ways for me is actually write PowerPoints. I'll write it with that. I did one time with 106 position situations that I just sat there and just put it on, you know, slideshow, and with my trusty little notebook that I carry everywhere here. And I just sat there and I just go, I didn't notice that guy going that way. I didn't notice this. I didn't want that. You know, I mean, it helped me as a coach. After watching my own presentation, it helped me planning when I would sit there and go like, that PowerPoint is off. I mean, that actually should come afterwards. I actually had the release before I thought about, you know, really going intense into the middle zone, because all these things, you know, that's what I really like, is that, you know, you have those three areas, right? I mean, let's look in here. I've got about a minute and a half, but I can do it. You have these areas, you know, and now with these things, so you got what I call the, you know, the yellow and red. You got the green, you got the yellow and red. That's pretty much how it is in the pool, right? So this area right here gets about 6 meters. You know, this area is about 6-7 meters. We all know that, right? There's 2 meters plus the 4 meters. That's where they put the marker, 6 meters. And the penalty shot is somewhere in here. So, and then you have this middle area. So if I have 6, let's make it 7. You got to give it a little bit. So I got 7, I got 14. Then I got this middle area. There's 16 meters, this middle area here. So unless I have intensity in all 3 levels, your counterattack's not going to work. I have to have this intensity when I take off on a counterattack is one type of intensity. Anticipation, beating the guy that's next to me, getting the right angle, thinking about where we're going with this. That's this intensity. This intensity here, tire this guy out. I'm going to swim this guy for 15 meters as hard as I can possibly do. I'm going to bear into him. I'm going to go to my legs. I'm going to stay with my lanes. I'm going to be filling up my angle lanes, and I'm going so hard. If I'm part of the play, or if I'm not part of the play, if I'm just clearing it out, or if whatever it is, now that's the intensity of execution. And let me tell you this, there are different types of intensity. Intensity of execution, come on, if you ever seen when you score a goal that you win the championship, or like you make a decision that is the one thing that made a whole difference, that's the intensity of execution. And when you're trying to finish the counter, you have to have the intensity of execution and not just going through motion. Go back and take a look at your past videos, go back and go see, and you're going to see that some things happen because we don't have intensity of execution. We have intensity. We try to execute, but they're not together. All right. Guys, you're the man. I know I got to go. I got to go right now. And let's see, board situation account after getting shoot there from the strong side. Okay, is that enough time? Could you please show and explain on the board situation account after getting a shot from the strong side next time? We'll do it next time. I'll make sure I'll get back to it, Facu, I promise. And
Excuse me, Mr. Acevedo?
Yes, hey, Mr. Corso, how are you?
How can you compare the great Boston Celtics teams to the Lakers?
Well, you know, I was feeling, you know, like a little bit, you know, the COVID-19 got to me, and I was just basically saying, like, if the COVID-19 happened in those days, the Celtics would be the only team that could play because they're so slow. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Water polo rules. Stay healthy,
Thanks.
guys. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Rico.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Rico.
All right, man. Stay healthy. Stay healthy, everyone.